Double Blind from 2023 seems to be a little bit of what you might call pandemic horror. It's about a group of test subjects who are doing a study on a new experimental pharmaceutical product. They're in a bunker of an evil pharmaceutical company, and their trials are being led by a doctor who is played by Pollyanna McIntosh, which is one of the big reasons I wanted to watch this movie. I liked it quite a bit, and another reason I call it a pandemic horror is because there is a character who does a little bit of his own research and ends up triggering a lockdown, so I thought that was kind of funny. But the movie, while it's not very grand, goes in enough different directions to keep you interested to the end, and it does, in my opinion, have quite a satisfying ending, although it's left a little bit ambiguous. I liked this movie quite a bit. Next, we have Exam, and while I didn't rate this movie very highly, I didn't hate it. It's just that it didn't fulfill its premise in a satisfying way. And this is the second movie of the week which features Pollyanna McIntosh, which is why I watched it. Exam is about a group of people who are trying to get a job, and they're in a job interview type situation. They're locked in a room, and you are in this room for the entire movie. And they are told they have one question before them, and they are to provide one answer. And then the test proctor leaves the room, and that's it. There's other stuff going on. There's clues to what they're thinking and what is being asked of them. There's a timer going. There's all kinds of sci-fi tropes going on. And if you've seen other one-room horrors like Cube, you'll know what to expect here. And I'm not the kind of person who can usually guess what's going on in a movie, but I did guess one of the major plot twists in this one. I didn't love it, but I also didn't hate it. If you want to see a Pollyanna McIntosh movie like I did, this isn't a terrible movie. It's just not great. Two Orphan Vampires is yet another film in what is becoming one of my favorite subgenres of horror, which is female vampires. This is the first Jean Roland movie I've seen, and it reminded me a lot of Female Vampire and Vampiros Lesbos. So between Jean Roland and Jess Franco, I have a lot of ground to cover with sexy female vampires. But this one I did quite enjoy. It's about two orphan vampires, but the lore of this one is that the two girls are blind during the day and can only see at night. So it's a little bit of a twist of vampire mythology. I loved so much about this movie. It is not perfect, though. There are some shots in this movie that made me think, did that one really have to go for that long? There's a lot of beauty to be taken out of some of the better framed shots and longer shots, but some of them wore out their welcome in a strange way. I loved the girls. I thought they were sweet. I thought there was this strange parallel between how they were perceived in the world as these innocent orphan angels and how they were actually evil vampires. As the viewer, I thought they were quite endearing and sweet throughout the whole movie. I also love that they run into other creatures of the night. It's not just our two heroines. You encounter other vampires, a she-werewolf, and there's all kinds of interesting stuff going on here. They even go to New York City, and there's a few shots of the Twin Towers. Another thing I loved about the lore of this movie is that the girls, though their past is a little bit murky in their memory, they believe themselves to be Aztec goddesses reincarnated. And there's one scene in particular that I found very powerful where they are recounting a human sacrifice ritual back in their Aztec days and telling each other the story, trying to remember it. And I thought it was really cool and amazing. Another thing that makes the girls more likable overall is that the violence is very understated. When they go in for a kill, it looks like they're going in for a soft kiss on the neck. And then they come up and there's a little bit of blood on their mouth. It really makes you root for them. And like a Jess Franco film, this was just a cozy, nice movie to watch. And I would love to get my hands on the Indicator Blu-ray of this. And I am looking forward to watching more Jean Roland sexy vampire movies. A Bluebird in My Heart from 2018 is a crime drama about an ex-convict who starts living in a hotel that is owned by a woman, and her daughter lives there as well. He befriends the woman, befriends the daughter kind of clings on to him, and this falls into the trope of grumpy dad adopts daughter, which I recently watched a great YouTube video about from the channel Deep Diver, which I will link down below. This movie excels at having likable, unlikable characters, meaning they are quite flawed, but you can see where they're coming from even when they're in bad situations. And there are several scenes in this movie that toe the line between warm tenderness and extreme discomfort in ways that I can't think of many movies that have done it this well. I bought this Blu-ray from Hamilton Book, and it was a blind buy, and it's one of the best blind buys I've ever gotten from Hamilton Book. I'm glad I picked it up, and it will definitely stay in the collection. Next is a rewatch of Amelie from 2001, and I haven't seen this movie in a very long time, probably since around 2001, maybe 2002, or the years around then. I used to love this movie. I used to worship it. I used to watch it over and over. And like many people my age, I was absolutely smitten with Audrey Tautou in this movie. She is astonishingly adorable and magnetic when she's on the screen. And I really like the way one Letterboxd review described her in this movie as the autistic pixie dream girl. This movie holds up in every way, including the use of CGI, which is very minimal, but you notice it when it's there in a good way. It's done very well and holds up to this day. I found watching this movie in 2025 to be quite a bit more moving than it was back in 2001 when I first saw it, when I was too young to pick up on some of the deeper themes of the movie. It's definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it. It's almost universally recommendable if you want to watch somewhat of a feel-good movie that will leave you feeling warm and happy. Nina Forever is a horror comedy from 2015 about a man named Robert whose girlfriend Nina dies in a motorcycle crash. When he tries to move on with his life with his new girlfriend Holly, Nina comes back and haunts them both. As far as being a dark comedy, I found this movie quite enjoyable, although the final 20 minutes or so, it doesn't really stick the landing and it ends in a somewhat unsatisfying way. I like some of the directions they took as far as how both of our characters relate to Nina, who appears on screen as a zombie of sorts, and this movie is quite fantastical in that sense. It's also a fantasy in the sense that the dudes who wrote it were definitely going for a male fantasy, because this movie is very spicy. It's full of sex scenes. Our lead actresses are nude or at least topless for what feels like the entire runtime. So if you're not into that, you might want to avoid this movie. I don't mind having it in my collection, but I don't know if it's something that I'm going to rewatch right away in the future. And with that, we'll wrap up another video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.